Hey everyone, welcome back to yet another video. In this one, we'll be having a look at Apple's new iPhone 8 Plus. With the also announced and more different iPhone 10 just around the corner, it's interesting to see what this option brings to the table. And while you might actually want to choose the 8 over the other depending on your style of use. Let's get into it. The iPhone 8 Plus is a more classical of Apple's releases. It follows a controversial theme of refine rather than redesign, which in my opinion has reached its best with this release. Since the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus were released, Apple refined this design ex and internally, making this phone a safe bet. It's not radically different than any of the other phones since, but feels excellent in the hand, with a decent heft, weight distribution in combination with the classical high quality materials. Of course, at the premium price this is to be expected, but nice and important nonetheless. The biggest refinement over the last iPhone is its back. Now made of glass, next to adding wireless charging following the Qi standard for optimal implementation, this also brings a slightly heavier, even more quality feel, alongside a much grippier device to hold. The iPhone is now 202 grams and comes in with the same dimensions as its predecessor, at 158.4 by 78.1mm and just 7.5 in thickness. The glass also just feels a little nicer than the still great aluminium from before in my opinion, especially if you decide to try some one-handed operation. The camera is still in the same spot and orientation with a metal ring with the color of your metal frame surrounding the lenses. Apple's logo and labeling are also to be found, however they are embedded under the glass for a smoother feel. Everything else is the same as the 7 Plus. Same antenna lines around all four corners, same button and switch placement with honestly very nice fitting hardware, and precisely cut out spaces for speakers and lightning ports with once again no headphone jack. The front follows a trend, reappearance of the semi-virtual home button with a physical space but no click, comparatively large earpiece, front-facing camera location and sensors hidden under the glass. All of this sits in the unquestionably large chins with even more unusual large side bezels for today's standards. And then comes the most important design aspect, the display. The Plus picks up a familiar Full HD 5.5-inch IPS panel. This doesn't sound too impressive, but honestly it is. The pixel density is decent, you still can't make out any pixels with the naked eye at 326 pixels per inch. But the rest is more impressive. The colors are excellent, with the built-in wide color gamut, viewing angles pretty much perfect with almost zero distortion at even extreme angles. The panel gets very bright and contrast is amazing too. Perfect white shades and especially pitch blacks for a non-OLED panel are there to impress you. Furthermore, there is the previously iPad Pro exclusive True Tone technology, which adjusts colors based on your lighting situation. While you want to turn this off when the most accurate of colors are needed, for general use this looks and works great. Let's take a look at some of iPhone 8's new features next, starting off with charging. The iPhone 8 is the first to pack both fast and wireless charging in Apple's lineup. Nothing new, but still nice to have in your iPhone. Unlike typical Apple fashion though, quick charging is done using the now established Qi technology. This doesn't only mean that it's more accessible for iPhone users than an Apple-only solution, since almost every current wireless charger supports the Qi standard, but it's also good news for anyone else with a phone supporting Qi. Like it or not, when Apple starts supporting a new technology, it usually becomes much more widely spread, so that will be the same with Qi chargers in public places. Fast charging isn't quite so good news. While it works at a decent rate with up to 50% at 30 minutes of charging, you will need either a third-party charger or one of Apple's first-party USB Type-C chargers to use quick charging, since the box power adapter doesn't deliver enough wattage. In typical Apple fashion, the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus also got a decent spec upgrade. It picks up Apple's new self-designed A11 Bionic CPU, including a cooperating motion processor also designed by their team. Next to some great numbers for enthusiasts, the iPhone 8 Plus gets multi-core scores between 9 and the 10,000s. This pushes limits of the iPhone further than ever. Of course, navigation in iOS is fluid, but more importantly, this opens up even more options for third-party applications, especially for augmented reality users. Apple's new favorite thing to talk about. They demoed some very impressive looking tasks on stage to show off its performance, but pretty much anything you can even think of downloading to your iPhone will be a breeze on this new beast. This performance is also fantastic news for the cameras. On the front we still get a 7MP sensor with an f2.2 aperture that delivers good looking photos and videos at 1080p in decent lighting but suffers a bit in low light. Nothing too flashy here. The real joy sits on the back. The main camera is a 12MP sensor with an f1.8 aperture, the second telephoto lens equipping a focal length of 2.8. As the name suggests, this helps taking some impressive zoomed shots for a smartphone at 2x zoom without any software zoom. Once you enable software zoom, you can go to 10 times, which is noticeable but still passable at that point. But that's also not what a smartphone camera is really meant to be used for. Without zooming, the camera produces stunning images. The colors are vibrant but still accurate compared to some other flagships, like the Galaxy S8, especially since HDR is now enabled in all photos with no decrease in performance thanks again to the new CPU. Contrasts are also more than impressive, as you can see even in this image with very dark and very bright areas in the sky. There is still distinguishable detail in all areas, something few other smartphone cameras do this well. Apple are also packing some new portrait modes for the camera, improving the general look of portraits and offering some lighting filters. That can look nice, however they are in beta, so the results vary quite a lot. Even more impressive are the video capabilities. Thanks to the A11 Bionic, the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus are capable of recording 4K video at 60 frames per second. This keeps the colors and contrast from the stills, and wrapping up the deal with good optical image stabilization, makes for some very professional video results without any separate gear or recording software. Using their new CPU, the phone can also record slow motion at 120 frames per second or 240 frames per second in Full HD. So if you can get some good lighting, this can also make for some very nice looking results. Overall, in my opinion, the camera with its sometimes mind-blowing results is the iPhone's best new feature. As mentioned previously, the overall performance is very smooth, once again mainly thanks to the new processor. iOS is known for its good optimization, but it's still nice how fast small things like system animations or opening applications fresh, or of course from RAM, is. Sometimes I would personally like a way to turn off some of these animations, as I think they actually slow down the phone sometimes, but the performance is great nonetheless. Some other small details include the 25% louder stereo speakers. Apple is once again using the earpiece as a second speaker, but they have both improved quite noticeably, to a point where they are not only loud but also clear, and you can even make out proper stereo separation sometimes. Subtle but nice nonetheless. The iPhone 8 Plus also has an actually wider screen than the much more talked about iPhone 10, enabling the much more common 16:9 aspect ratio. Next to more vertical content space, obviously, this also means media won't be cropped or have black bars to fit the screen, and therefore be either complete or larger. Nothing too major, but something to keep in mind. The phone is also once again IP67 certified, which means the phone can be submerged for up to 30 minutes in 1 meter of water. I would not trust this, as Apple doesn't cover water damage in their warranty, but it's still a nice security when you're using your device. Conclusively, the iPhone 8 Plus is not worth the upgrade over the last generation in my opinion. There are just not enough new features included. But for those on older phones, this device is a perfection of the now aged iPhone 6 and 6 Plus design, with all the quirks removed and a multitude of added features. Therefore, it will be a nice upgrade to those users. Last, look at the price. We all know what's coming for Apple, very honestly too expensive. The iPhone 8 Plus starts retail at €909 in Germany for a 64GB variant, and €1,079 for an upgrade to 256. So that was it. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this review, and to see more on else, just make sure to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.